So I get to my theater, I buy a ticket, I go inside, I get a snack. I then go to the elevator. My movie is on the second floor. I'm currently on the first floor. There's 1M, then 2. And in the elevator, I meet a man and his 2 sons, one of whom points out the brand new Batman game in the arcade. He has good taste. The dad and I get to talking, and I at one point ask him, "What are you guys seeing?" And he replies, I quote, "Norm of the North. I hope what you're seeing is better." 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. In my opinion, this movie was disappointing. The story follows a 6-man security team based in Benghazi, Libya. When chaos breaks out and the American ambassador becomes a target for assassination, the men do their best to save him in time. But when their efforts fail, they are forced to endure hours of hostiles coming in all directions. Whether the attack was planned or not is unknown, but what is known is that it will take every last man and bullet to finish the fight in one piece. Michael Bay is, for me, one of those directors who is right in the sweet spot between being one of my favorite directors and being a director whose films I just enjoy watching on occasion. And if you see one of his films, you are likely to see the following elements: guns, explosions, some swearing, maybe, occasionally, soldiers in battle, and some schmuck who learns a secret he or she should not know, and as soon as they know, the government knows, and then they get mad because they didn't know, even though they, in theory, should have known. And then there's all this arguing banter, which is occasionally well written. His Transformers films are a particularly interesting case study for me because they have garnered the most negative reviews from critics, and yet they have made more money than most Best Picture nominees. Kind of goes to show how keeping things simple stupid is sometimes the best bet, even if it's not regarded as quality storytelling. Personally, I appreciate the Transformers films for what they are, because they know exactly who their target audience is, and they do what any film should do: provide an escape from reality. That is where this film differs, given how it's a true story. Michael Bay has experience with true stories through Pearl Harbor and Pain and Gain. I myself am not a fan of the latter film, but I did have hopes for this film. Given the relationship Michael Bay has with the military, I knew he would at the very least be realistic in his portrayal of their handling of the chaos, and I believe he was. But in all honesty, I really only found a couple of parts to be truly engaging. The first part is when the enemy soldiers are approaching the compound, and one of the good soldiers sees them all through his night vision goggles. He then tells his comrades, and they all point their guns in their direction, ready to fire. It's a really short sequence, but how it's shot and edited makes it a really, really well done sequence. The second part is this car chase that happens a ways into the film, and there are many cars, most of whom are bad guy cars, but there's this one good guy car that is trying to get back to base, and the driver has crap vision. He can't see worth a damn, and just in that scene, there is so much raw emotion that it really emotionally got to me, and I was just like, come on, get back to base, you can do it, come on. And he's got bullets flying his way, he's got bazookas, and just the way it's pulled off is so tasteful. And in the best possible way, it is a really, really intense ride. And speaking of intense, from the interviews I have watched with the actors in this film, that's what it sounds like shooting this film was like. But thankfully, they all brought their energy to their role, and they are all very difficult roles. Everyone in this film is portraying someone who either is still alive or used to be alive. And that kind of responsibility is a weight that not a lot of people would willingly bear. But huge props to John Krasinski and his co-stars, because they had the courage to do so. And I think, for one, they did quite well. My notes for improvement fall under a few different categories. We'll go through one by one in the order of which I thought of them while watching the film. Number 1, editing. Like any Michael Bay film, the cuts in this film are quick, music video quick, and I personally think that if more thought had been put into how the camera covered every scene, each cut would have felt more energized and important, rather than what it felt like now, which is an assembly line of images that basically just show you what's happening. Number 2. Pacing. As Michael Bay proved with his Transformers films, you can have a lot going on and still make someone want to check their watch for the time. 13 hours lasts for 2.5 hours, and I felt every minute of it. And when that happens, I am not lost in the story. Bottom line, condensed time does not always equal an engaging experience. Number 3. Clichés. One of the more disappointing elements of this film for me personally was how most of the meant-to-be emotional beats in the story between characters felt very Hollywood. Now, it is of course obvious that any soldier would think about and talk about his family at some point during battle, or, in between breaks and the bullets flying, but very few of those moments and other select moments felt organic. To be fair, it is really hard to pull off those moments, and Michael Bay is really more about explosions than he ever will be emotions. But regardless of that fact, when you do have those moments in your film and they do not play out naturally, well, it really just adds insult to injury. With all that being said, for his next project, Michael Bay will be getting back to his favorite franchise, Transformers. Now, I don't know how many of you are looking forward to this movie, the next one, number 5, but personally, I am. I have paid to watch all of them, and I don't plan to stop. Why? The guy is passionate, and I will always back that kind of spirit. As for 13 hours, I give it 2 out of 5 stars. Thanks for your time. I wish you an inspiring day.